All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the closing keynote, as she just told you. Now, the word keynote, where does it really come from, and why do we constantly say keynote address, opening keynote, closing keynote? So, if you knew about people who practice the cappella, and if you've seen boo-wop or barbershop singers string the note, the key, you know, the basic string note, before they start performing a song, that particular note that they string decides then the tone, the key of the song that they perform. So, in conferences such as this, closing keynote address usually decides the message and the memory that the audiences carry back when they go back to their ecosystem. And we're hoping for this closing keynote to be a highly positive one. I have two guests in this closing keynote. I'll begin by inviting the first on stage. Now, this man, whilst he was building his own career and building his own organization, he also happened to, alongside help build the Indian experiential industry. For those of you who already know who I'm talking about, I must share with you that not many times has this been said, but he's also one of the first few in the country who helped evolve India's IP ecosystem, really. I've usually introduced him by calling him the father of the Indian experiential ecosystem. I'm not going to do that today because I met him a few weeks back concerning a matter at work, and I thought he looked younger than ever and fitter than ever. And if before he was raring to go, now he's roaring to go. Everybody, you'll soon meet the newest kid on the block. He's officially now a sneakerhead. We will put our hands together after this film and welcome on stage Sabbas Joseph. Namaste. Good evening. How are you? Please. Okay, and I'm now going to invite on stage someone who's already looking very worried as to how I'm going to introduce him. मैं सिर्फ दो ही लाइन कहूँगी, but बढ़िया लाइन कहूँगी आपके लिए जो कि सच है. So he's someone whose contribution to India's IP ecosystem will be written in golden letters, ladies and gentlemen. बहुत सारी जोरदार तालियों के साथ, please welcome on stage Tarsame Mittal, who's made a very, very significant contribution over the last decade to shaping many facets of the Indian ecosystem and, of course, India's music industry. Good evening and a very warm welcome to you. Our clock is ticking sharp. We have a few minutes, but I'll try and make the best of it. Now, this session, the closing keynote really, is to sum up the whole day. So I'm going to begin by asking you, Sabbas, you have the IFA, you have IFA Utsavam, you have HD Leadership, you have ABP News, India's Idea Summit, you have GMA, you have Global Citizen, Bacardi, Greenathon, Save the Tiger. So many epic IPs. that you've created and co-created down the years. Would you like to look back on the journey this evening? Can I urge you to do that, to briefly look back at this journey, which also along the way somewhere grew India's IP ecosystem?
First, good evening, Gitikka.
Thank you.
Hi, guys. I think let's give Deepak and the entire team behind Shows of India a big round of applause first. It's been well curated. It's been a lovely set of sessions back to back and run almost on time. And I'd say I'm delighted with all of you and all of us who've attended today's session, because it's been awesome to see everyone sharing openly, learning from each other, and literally supporting and celebrating each other. So really, a big round of applause to each of you first. The IP journey, IPs existed in India, but it was the prerogative of media companies. So you had Filmfare Awards, which was owned by the Times of India. The Femina Miss India, which was owned by the Times of India. Look of the Year, you name it, different kinds of IPs. They all were owned by the Times of India group or a media house, like in India today, Conclave, etc., etc., etc. The first breakthrough of IPs came in from two places. One was when we decided to start the IFA Awards in competition almost to the Filmfare Awards, which was the biggest awards and biggest event. And we started in 2000, and we decided that if we do it in India, you'll die. They'll kill you. So we took it outside the country where no one had any control or no one had any influence, and we just raised the bar. And I think in that is a story for every one of us, is do what you want to do, believe in your dream, but do it brilliantly. Do it in such a way that it's difficult for others to emulate, and it becomes the next aspiration. So make people aspire, make them dream, push them to the limits that they'll find difficult to challenge. And that's really where you begin. I mean, I could tell you stories and stories along the way, but this is what I would say for the first thing. It began there. And the second IP that changed the game was the IPL. And I was there when we launched the IPL logo and did the first auction, and how Lalit Modi brought in all the board members of all the cricket boards from across the world one day after the opening of the T20 World Cup in South Africa. Wow. And all of them assembled like good children who came in because the BCCI, the Board of Control for Cricket in India, the most influential and powerful board, had decided that they're doing the IPL. And all of them were there to show their support, to say that we are part of this. There was no sponsor. There was no TV rights. There was nothing. And I sat in that audience with Kunal Das Gupta, who was then the CEO of Sony Entertainment Television. And he told me something. He says, Sabbas, buy one team. And I said, where will I have the money? He said, buy one team. This is the future. And the future was written for everybody. The excitement in the room, every one of these things. What did BCCI do? What did Lalit Modi do? He changed the game. So in anything you're doing, when you're doing an IP, when you're doing what you're doing, even if you're going into the same space that others have succeeded in, and you're trying to emulate them, go change the game. Set new rules, your rules. And that's the new story. That's probably the best chance you've got of creating something unique, something which is an IP, something that you're proud of, and everyone in the community celebrates.
It's always wonderful to relive memories, and also wonderful to learn little lessons from those memories. And it's great to hear you look back at your journey. We don't have too much time, but whatever little bit you could. Tarsame, All About Music, I know, was a project after your heart. And I also know, he's told me this actually, that it wasn't something you did to earn the big bucks. It was really the way your give back to the industry. It did bring together a very fragmented music industry on its platform. And of course, Arijit Singh there changed the way that performing artists operated and functioned and grew in this ecosystem. I'd urge you to look back briefly at your journey with regards both of these.
Thanks, Gitikka. First of all, congratulations, Deepak and the entire team for doing such a great event. I know the pain, how what it takes to do this. So you can see this. And today I'm coming in the capacity of that extra biscuit which you get with cappuccino in 5-star hotels. So that's the cappuccino you ordered, and I'm the biscuit you got along with it. So coming with all about music, and I'm gonna be.
1 second, he doesn't mean that. Carry on.
So यार मैं हिंदी में बोलता हूँ थोड़ा इजी रहेगा हाँ. So all about music, it's all started शुरुआत में when आप जब म्यूज़िक इंडस्ट्री में काम करते हो, मैंने इवेंट मैनेजर के हिसाब से अपना करियर शुरू किया एंड देन गॉट टू द अदर साइड एज एन आर्टिस्ट मैनेजर. उसके बाद बियॉन्ड अ पॉइंट देयर वाज नथिंग टू लर्न. You eventually manage an artist. We actually didn't know what artist management actually meant. For the longest time, I also thought, like many other people in India, that artist management means booking concerts and getting them money from the concert and just traveling with them and going around and staying in the hotels, eating food and roaming around. That's what was artist management. Sorry, I'm not taking away any credit or any thing from anybody, but यही हमको लगता था कि यही है. जब काम करना शुरू किया 2012-13 प्रोफेशनली व्हेन आई स्टार्टेड वर्किंग एंड धीरे धीरे रियलाइज हुआ कि यार नहीं, द थिंग्स आर बियॉन्ड दिस. स्पेशली व्हेन आई ट्रैवल्ड, जब आपने ट्रैवल किया बाहर, वेंट टू कांस मिडेम कॉन्फ्रेंस, म्यूजिक एक्सपो एंड ऑल दिस कॉन्फ्रेंस, simple thing, I realized that why is not there a conference in India? If the Indian music industry is so big, and I'll be honest, everybody I used to talk about that conference, EMA is so powerful, and event management fraternity is so powerful, and live concert fraternity is so powerful, that most people didn't used to understand what I'm talking. वो बोल रहे थे, मतलब it was always confused with the live industry. But the music industry is a very different, well, live is also a very important part of it, but music industry is different.
Yeah.
And then I thought, let's start. Then I realized that there was a conference which used to happen earlier, Nokia Music Connect. Sabbas and everybody was also involved there. And that conference stopped happening because it was the big boys club. It was just meant for a few people.
Okay.
And all about music actually, not just giving back to the industry, very honest, it was a lot of selfish motive for myself. I wanted to learn, and I kind of had finished all my resources. My resources were, let's assume, Sabbas, Vijay, Roshan, everybody I knew. I would go to them, just chew their brain. You'll be surprised to know that how many times I have just gone to Sabbas and sat with him for like 5 hours. And during his IFA or GMA time, when he's like fully busy with his work, just to sit there and actually see what he's doing. And in between the time, he will talk to me for 10 minutes. Then I'll keep checking what he's doing, whom he's talking to, how he's talking to. And I've been doing that. I've done that with a lot of people. That was my whole selfish motive. And then actually when All About Music started, our whole idea was to do a conference which is actually inclusive, which connects the artist from the lowest to the highest scale, the labels, the managers, the platforms, everybody is a part of the music industry. And when the first All About Music happened, I remember our target was about 300-400 people. And it was me, him, and Vijay, correct? And 8:30 in the morning, we were just trying to set up everything, and we saw a lot of people coming in. And suddenly, it was like a railway station. And we were scared. And I still have goosebumps. And I told Sabbas, listen, I'm going to get fucked today. आज तो लोग जो आएंगे बहुत गालियाँ देंगे because everything is going to
But that
crashed.
didn't happen. That didn't happen.
Sabbas actually, I'll tell you why I'm telling this story in so detail. Sabbas actually took charge of one room.
Ah.
Vijay took charge of one room. I took charge of one room. And the only idea was that, listen, people know us. So at least, even if they are upset, we will be able to handle them.
Yeah.
They will not complain much. And that's when IP, All About Music, was built for us.
Wow.
But commercially, we have done 6 seasons of All About Music. Sabbas doesn't charge anything. A lot of the industry stalwarts don't charge anything. No speakers charge anything. We don't charge our fees. Even after that, it just got broke even last year.
Ah, okay.
6 years of a successful IP,
And you kept going.
which is considered super successful,
And you
the
kept
break
going.
even just happened last year. That's the reality of IP. And you will only see a very few successful names out of 100 IPs created.
Yes.
For me, I think one word which I have understood from everything I tried and what worked for All About It, every IP which is successful actually is an emotion. And if you are able to get people to connect with this emotion rightly, then only an IP gets born. Otherwise, it doesn't get born.
Taking from what you're talking about right now, and because this is a session that is really summing things up for the day, I'm going to ask you and you both, of course.
Can I just add to what Tarsame shared on All About Music? Everyone has come up here and spoken about communities. All About Music did not succeed because of Tarsame or Sabbas or Vijay or anybody. It succeeded because the entire community wanted it to succeed. This event and that project gave to the community. At the leadership level, there was never a conference where the heads of the music industry could actually sit down and talk. They could actually talk to not themselves, but talk to the world. They were able to showcase their work before the international community. Everyone wants to get appreciation, and they were being able to present and get appreciation from their colleagues from across the world. Artists wanted to connect with artists. Artists wanted to learn. So there were people there and there were workshops to teach artists how to cue the right note. I mean, some crazy session which you think is normal, they were thronged by people who were part of the industry and never got a chance. No one ever shared this with them. Sound recorders, each of these. And it went on to be able to create a base where filmmakers got together to listen to new composers as a finale of the event. So these prospective music composers sent their tracks, and out of maybe 500 or 1,000, 500 in year one, so you can imagine what it is like today, 10 tracks were chosen, and those 10 tracks were played before a set of film directors, successful film directors, who have a ear for music. And having done that, in the last year, I've got goosebumps when I'm telling you, out of the 10 that were presented, 6 of those music composers, young music composers, kids out of college, have got assignments from those film directors who were there. That is what I say, an IP must give back to the community. It must build the community. It must work with the community. If you're not working with the community, you have no place in life. If you looked at ProCam, what ProCam has done with the marathon, all of those charities, they're running, but they're giving to the community. What has ProCam created through the marathon? They've created a platform where the community as a whole is benefiting. And that becomes your larger community where the IP belongs to them. That's the day you've actually succeeded.
So Sabbas, you're essentially saying give
Vivek,
back.
hats off.
Essentially, you're saying give back is an important element. You're saying emotion is an important element. Taking from what both of you have said, I'm going to quickly ask you both to just sum it up for us. What does it really take to build a successful IP? Big question, but try.
So, I'll try to give an answer which might help. The truth is that you can't actually build a great IP, it gets built. In my way, you can only just try, and you don't know it'll work or not. But after studying the successful IPs like IPL or from any scale, marathon, if you think about them, It's the right time.
Huh.
It's understanding of a need. So sometimes the community doesn't even know what they need. And you actually have to keep convincing every part of the community that you need the others to come together and do something. And again, it's a B2B IP is a different thing. A consumer IP is, if I talk about B2B IPs, the industry obviously, like an event management industry or artist and plastic industry, any industry, they have to come together to share experiences, understand success, failures, learn from each other, connect with each other, collaborate. But how would it happen? It would happen only when people gather at one common place and people from different segments of the business are actually adding on their suggestions, putting on their feedback, and from that you create something which is useful to people. If you put people in one room, automatically that happens. The difficult part is to put those people in one room. So for me, B2B IPs, that's the most important thing, to get people at one platform. That is the biggest challenge. And if you talk about a consumer IP, because we've also worked BMP, we've done, or I've been a part of other IPs which I might not own, but we've worked with those IPs. I think it's understanding the consumer mindset. You have to be able to understand what the consumer needs. If you are able to serve what the consumer is needing, I think that's what makes a successful.
So you're saying identifying a particular need and then trying to fill it with the genre that you choose to go with. Sabbas, quickly with you, what does it take to build a successful IP? What worked for IFA?
I think I kind of disagree with Tarsame.
Thank you.
On whether IPs just happen. IPs don't just happen. Ideas happen. Converting those ideas into IPs is where the game really is. And there's a science about these things. Okay, after seeing many of what we've done and learning from experience, I'll tell you there's a science. And if you saw every one of the sessions today, those of you who were sitting in the room and not enjoying your coffee, you'd have heard simple lessons right through. Content. What does your IP have as content? The quality, the content, the intrinsic nature of your content. Is it relevant? Is it aspirational? Is it taking it forward? Is it giving people something new? That content also includes the experience. What is their experience like? If you have a sense of that, you've already got that as your first base. 2, you're building communities. You're engaging with communities. In engagement with communities, you build your own community. I'll give you one of our cases, like I shared with All About Music. And IFA became one successful film awards event. There was a set of film workers, thousands of them, lakhs of them, who work behind the scenes. No one sees them. They don't surface at our event. They have nothing to do with the event. And they don't exist, actually. We created an IFA foundation to look after those film workers, providing them school books, their children's education, etc., to be able to build that. And
Nice.
And I'll tell you, we would not have succeeded if the actors did not become part of it. And all of these actors suddenly found a different purpose in IFA, that we had an IFA foundation looking after the film workers, which their own industry was not able to do. So the IP is giving back to somebody who doesn't matter. They're neither watching it, they're not going to give me money, nothing. But you give back. So you tied in the film community. Now, that film industry is also looking for aspiration. So you bring in the international community as part of it. You bring in the best in class out there. You get them engagements that is not possible. What did you do? You set up treaties with governments of countries. So the first film treaties where India tied up with various countries were done on the back of IFA. The film distribution in 2000, when IFA started, was a fraction, a negligible fraction, maybe 1 in 3% of the film revenue of any film. Today, it is around 30 to 50% of the film revenue the film revenue that comes in from international markets. And believe you me, that international revenue comes from markets where IFA has been. And IFA has improved the distribution, et cetera, of Hindi cinema. So you're expanding the business, not your business, but the business of what you're representing. Everywhere, governments of those countries invite IFA. So there's a bid. It's like the Olympics of what you do. You saw Procam telling you that this is how much we add to the economy in where we do in marathon. You saw Lollapalooza saying he brought in $25 million spent into the local economy. This is similar with IFA. You have multiple levels where you're giving back. One is you're bringing in the local economy. It varies from 25 to 50 million. The visibility for that country or that city is in 800 million. That's the kind of visibility they get. Investments go from India to that country. Investments come from that country to India. Film distribution improves. So if you are adding economic value, you're building a bridge into this entire thing.
Yeah.
It is no wonder that, there are countries, cities fighting and paying top dollar to host an IFA in their country. And that is what you require to build. Now build that community. Now, an IFA happens once a year. Or All About Music happens once a year. How do you make the IP live every day is the next big test. You can't do your event every day. But how are you connecting with the community? What are you building with them in long-term relationships? Are you sharing content? Are you celebrating them? Are you responding to them in situations of need, in situations of struggle? All of that. That becomes part of what you are. And finally, you can have the biggest platform to entertain the world. In 2007, IFA went and did a green carpet talking to the world about environment and sustainability. That was before anyone cared about the environment in India. I don't even remember whether we had an environment ministry. It was one of the ministries allocated to one minister. The NDTV Greenathon, the Tigerthon, all of that got born after that, wherein after the green carpet of IFA, we began to talk about it. And it is exciting to be able to see this happen. Like today, N number of years later, we have signed a partnership with the United Nations itself on the issues of environment, sustainability, and the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. Now that becomes important because you're not just bothered about entertainment, but you're bothered about issues that concern the world. And if you have to be a global IP, if you've got to be something that's relevant, and I'm sharing this openly with you only because there's a lesson in all of that for all of you who are looking at IPs. Pick it up. There's a science around it. If you're able to give back, if you're able to build around your IP, a community, a stronghold, then you've got a story. And that story is what will become your IP. IP is not a logo. IP is not an event. IP is what you do within it and around it 365 days of the year. Finally, many IPs die. It is not that the IP died. It's the budget that was wrong. How long do you have, how much money do you have as an investment to plow and keep your IP going? Know that from the beginning. The chances are your business will fail. So, but you plan for it, sort it out, because somewhere someone needs to pay for it.
Yeah.
Whether it's a sponsor, it's the consumer, it's the community, etc. You have to build your revenue streams to be able to keep it alive. You cannot invest or lose money on an IP beyond a particular point because that's a dead investment. You'll die. So, however big your thought is, however big your pocket is, that's your money. It needs to come back. It needs to grow. It needs to build. It's a business. It's not just a passion. It's not just an emotion. You have to make it a success. And businesses have to succeed if IPs have to grow.
Yes. We don't have too much time. I want to slip in two quick questions here because they're really important. everything is bursting in terms of IPs. I mean, it's the quantum leap year, if we can call it that, this year. It's like the king of the pack, IPs. I was passing through BKC the other day, and on my left was Backstreet Boys, and on my right was Nita Ambani Cultural Center, house full, packed for Sound of Music. What suddenly happened? I'm going to ask both of you. One is that, and then quickly we'll talk about the last question. I have Deepak
The biscuit is over. Let's enjoy the
sending
coffee.
me messages.
I don't think it's revenge spending.
Uh-huh.
I think it's here to stay.
Oh, okay.
But that here to stay is subject to all of us. If we continue to deliver quality in our experiences, this so-called revenge spending of which we have for a few months or a year or two can continue forever. So
Okay.
making it continue forever is up to all of us who are creating events and projects. We must make them succeed.
Okay.
You must make the consumer go back saying, I want more.
I want more, yeah. My last question is this a house of cards? There's this good news all around us. Is this a house of cards? What if another pandemic hits human shores? What's going to happen with the IP ecosystem?
Yeah, I might sound very insensitive, but I think the last 2.5 years have been the best time of my life, for sure. Not when I thought, when it happened about it, but eventually when I go back and look what happened, you got to zero, mentally, physically, financially, in all the ways. You started working and you were able to use your true potential. And what came out of it, the learnings about life, relationships, business, finance. So I think I'm mentally prepared for it. If something like that happens, I know the way out. I mean, you just have to go back and become simple again. Simple for me.
Thank you. Quickly, a rapid fire round, 5 questions, and then we shall give the stage back to Deepak and his team. Both of you, rapid fire. Huh? International artist, Indian artist?
Indian artist.
Both.
Both. I knew it was going to say that. Entertainment genre or the intellectual genre?
See, since he said both, it's easy to answer now both. But
No. Both is not allowed. Sabbas was allowed that once, now it's not allowed.
entertainment.
Entertainment genre. What about you?
Question again?
The entertainment genre or the intellectual genre?
You've got to use your brains to do the entertainment genre.
Mujhe bachao. Okay. IPs for the young or IPs for that bunch that's going through the midlife crisis?
Whichever makes money.
Whichever. So I'm asking you, which one?
I don't know. I have
You have to predict.
I have no personal interest on any one of them. Whichever
Okay.
makes money, I'll go for it.
So you're not going through a midlife crisis. Okay. Young or the ones with the midlife crisis?
Genuinely, the ones who'll pay the money.
Generally, the ones who will pay the money. Okay. Volumes in terms of lower ticket prices or ticket prices with big volume?
I hate to tell you this. The guys who pay for the high ticket prices, its value is much more than what you'll get for the millions who pay the low prices. So you need both.
Okay.
It's very difficult to answer. If it is a B2B event, the higher paying. If it is B2C, the lower paying.
Good answer. What do IPs in India need more, funding or infrastructure?
Infrastructure for sure. There is no doubt about that. Funding will come on its own if the infrastructure is there.
Yeah, rapid fire, both of you. Please note.
I have a third version.
Ayyo.
It's about belief.
Okay.
It's not funding, it's not infrastructure. If you've got belief, everything will happen.
Okay. IFA in India, IFA abroad?
Abroad.
Only abroad.
Only abroad. Next one also for him. Amitabh Bachchan or Salman Khan?
Amitabh Bachchan.
No, this one's for you, this one's for you. Jaldi karo, Amitabh Bachchan or Salman Khan?
One is someone who
No,
inspires me.
ये सब नहीं.
One
ये सब
minute.
नहीं.
Hold on.
Pick one.
Hold on.
Pick one now, guys. Pick one.
Salman Khan playing Amitabh Bachchan in his movie.
No, that doesn't work.
No, then the Bahu will be like, you can't do that. That's wrong casting.
See, one is a friend, the other is the one who inspires me.
Okay, I'm going to let Sabbas go here. Poonam Chadda Joseph or Wizcraft?
Poonam Chadda Joseph, Wizcraft will survive.
Okay. Peace or prosperity?
Peace.
Peace, I knew that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Put your hands together for Tarsame, Mittal and Sabbas Joseph, summing the day up for you in this closing keynote. Thank you for listening and thank you, Deepak.